What?
What?
What the hell is this?
Harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor harumph.
Harumph!
You watch your ass.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Let the show begin.
Hey everybody, this is David Heretic coming at you with another edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. And tonight, alright, we're going back to Judas Priest. Yes, indeed, Judas Priest fans, feeling you. Come on now. Here we go. Before we go any further, for those of you who are feeling inclined to doing all of the clicks and the likes and the bibbidi-bobbidi-bop, do me a favor, before you do all that stuff, please watch the whole video first, okay? Give me a chance to actually earn those clicks and likes. Now, after the video's done, still feel like doing all those clicks and likes, then by all means, feel free to click away. This comes as a request from Adrian Bombarov and Salo D'Souza Jr. They both want to see me react to this. It is Judas Priest with a tune called Halls of Valhalla. Now, have I heard this song before? No, I have not. To the best of my knowledge, this does not resonate with me in any way, shape, or form. However, there's always a possibility I may have heard the song in passing and I just don't realize it. So as always, if I start listening to the song and I suddenly go, wait a second, I recognize this song, I'll let you know.
That's the truth.
You know me, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Let's see, this was posted by Judas Priest. All right. And the video has 4.5 million views. It'll get you there. Other than that, there's really nothing else left to say. Link to the original video will be down below in the video description for your viewing pleasure at your leisure. Let's get started. What do you say? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because here we go. All right, here we go. Judas Priest, Halls of Valhalla, live from Battle Cry. Okay, is that a festival or? I'm not sure what that is. Maybe that might be the title of a concert DVD. Or that's another possibility. I'm not sure. I mean, at the end, does it really matter? No, not really. But it's always interesting to see where these titles could potentially take viewers. You know. All right, let's do this.
All right, boy, let's do this.
This is Falcon. Glenn. I would love to know whose call was that to put a smoke machine, a smoke projector, right next to an ego block. Who did that? Whose butt do I need to kick? Because I'm serious. That is one of the worst ideas ever. And if you're going to do it, okay, fine. Project the smoke down at the feet, not upward into the face, especially because poor Rob is over there trying to sing a note. He has to take a deep breath. And what's he going to be breathing in? That freaking projected theater smoke. Yeah, that's a great time. That is great, man. That feels so good when you suck that down your throat into your lungs. Boy, that feels amazing. God, whose idea was that? They need to be shot. Seriously. They absolutely need to be shot. That's got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in stage design. That is awful. I saw poor Rob over there taking that deep breath before he hit the note, and I'm like, oh my God, that's gotta suck. Oh. I've been there and done that. That is not fun. As far as the song goes, it's I hate to say this, but it's very typical Judas Priest style of riffing. All around those 8 notes, you know, or in this case, I think it's 16th notes. Yeah, it's all around those articulate, clean 16th note patterns. And listen, is there anything wrong with it? No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In a live setting, doing it as clean as they're doing. Knowing it's Judas Priest, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised one bit that they're playing them that cleanly. In the riff itself, it sounds good. The notational selection. I'm just saying it's a very stereotypical Judas Priest thing to do. That style of song. I'm not saying all their songs sound like this, but when I hear a riff like this performed with those 16th note patterns, the first thing that pops into my mind is Judas Priest. You know, they've had a number of songs throughout the years that have followed a very similar pattern. So it sounds good. It's pleasing to the ear. The power is there. Absolutely. I mean, I have no complaints about the song at all. It's the type of song you would expect Judas Priest to play in a live setting. So anyway, let's get back into this. I'm gonna try too. Okay. I had no idea going into this was going to be a live performance, so that was unexpected. I need to think about this. I do, because there are, along with the songwriting and the musicianship, there's some other factors I need to take into account here. So let me get my thoughts together. I'll see you in the review and we'll talk about it. Well, there you go, folks. That was Judas Priest with a live performance of Halls of Valhalla. This was a request from Adrian Bombarov and Salo de Souza Jr. Okay, I have a score, and this, I'm not questioning my score whatsoever, but I'm just gonna put a disclaimer out there. Okay, I am probably going to say some things that might possibly, may possibly trigger some Judas Priest fans. Okay, now listen, I'm not saying these things to be disrespectful. I'm not saying these things to try to upset people. I'm just making observations, okay? I'm calling things as I see them and as I hear them. It is not meant to be disrespectful. It is not meant to be taken in any shape that is any shape, way, or form that is meant to upset people, you know, or trigger people. It's just, if you know anything about me, you know I say what I feel and I say what I think. Okay, so I'm not trying to, you know, poke the bear, but at the same time, I'm not gonna sugarcoat these things. So if you are the type of person that defends Judas Priest with your last dying breath, who you know, just absolutely loves this band, who loves everything this band has ever done and will ever do, and will die on that hill defending them at every single opportunity, I'm going to make a recommendation that at this point you turn off this video. Okay, you can listen to the score if you want, but you might, after I give the score, you might want to click on that X and close this video out. Okay, I'm just saying this for your benefit, so you don't get upset, you don't get triggered, your blood pressure doesn't go through the roof, you know, you don't have an aneurysm or a stroke. And it's for my benefit as well, because I don't want to deal with all the hate in the comments. All right, I really don't. So do us both a favor. All right, close the video out now, or if you really want to hear the score, once I give the score, just click the X and end the video. All right. Okay, having said that disclaimer, let's get to that score and I'll explain how I came up with it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give that overall presentation a 7.2. Yep, 7.2. I feel good about that score. Let me tell you why.
Why?
Okay. First things first, a 7.2. What does that mean? Well, a 7.2 would translate to a really good skill rating, because overall, I think this was a really good presentation. It would also get 4 to 5 stars and a B as in boy, B letter grade. So there you go, a 7.2, really good skill rating, 4 to 5 stars, and a B letter grade. Now, how did I come up with that score? Haha, so glad you asked. Last chance, those of you who are just absolute diehard Judas Priest fans who get easily triggered and easily upset by people expressing an opinion different than yours, this is your last chance to click that X and save both of us the time, trouble, effort, and strain and everything else that comes with it. This is your last chance. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 seconds to close this video out, and then we're going to move on, at which point it's on you if you stay or not. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. Okay. As Judas Priest songs go that I have heard on the channel, and my history with them going back to Ram It Down and back, I gotta say, this song has a lot of typical Judas Priest feels, in particular rhythmically. Even the chordal progressions, there's a lot of similarities. I'll give you an example. When this song kicked in and we got into the main riff of the song, 2 songs came to mind. Now, it may not be the same chordal progressions, but rhythmically, it's very similar. First thing that came to my mind was the Sentinel. Okay? I was wrong. It wasn't a 16th note pattern. It was an 8th note pattern because we're going along at tempo that is twice as fast than I originally thought it was. So, you know, it's an 8th note pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So, first song that came to mind, the Sentinel. Okay. As far as the chordal progression goes, notation, one of the first songs that came to mind was one from way back in the day, Saints in Hell. It has the main riff has a very similar chordal progression, and and there's a number of other songs. These are just the first 2 that came to mind. There's a number of other songs that I've heard from Judas Priest in the past, both on the channel and on my own. Remember, I was a big fan of Judas Priest until I heard Ram It Down, and then I was done with them. Turbo really wrecked Judas Priest for me. Ram It Down, I remember that album came out, and I was like, I'll give them one more chance to redeem themselves from Turbo. And unfortunately, it really didn't help. So that's when I put the kibosh on listening to Judas Priest, unfortunately. I still listen to them, their past albums, up to Ram It Down, but I never allowed myself to go any further. I remember when Painkiller came out, I didn't listen to it. Gosh, what came out after Painkiller? Oh, that was the Tim Owens era. God, what was the name of the album? I can see the album cover, but I don't remember the name of the album. He did 2 albums with them, I think. And I just had no interest. I had no interest in pursuing it any further. But when I say stereotypical, I mean it in the nicest way possible. Judas Priest found a formula that worked for them when it came to their rhythmic play and their chordal progression. They love playing, you know, the pentatonics, man. They love the pentatonics. Is there anything wrong with that? No, absolutely not. There's nothing wrong with it. Listen, they figured out a system. They figured out a formula that works for them and had great success using that system. So if you come up with a system that works for you, that it works for decades and gives you great success, why would you change? Why would you change ship? You want to stay commercially successful? Stick with it. You know, I'm not saying every song has to sound the same. And believe me, there's a lot of Judas Priest songs that don't sound like that. Okay, but there are similarities. They borrow certain aspects from that formula. You know, a formula is broken up into, say, 12 parts. Okay, and for a song you're writing, you'll borrow parts 2, 3, and 7 for this song. And another song, you're gonna borrow parts 3, 6, and 8. You know, we'll take that. And for another song that you're gonna write, you're gonna borrow from the formula. You're gonna borrow 1, 5, and 9. You know, you're gonna borrow certain parts from that formula, and it won't end up sounding exactly generic. So there's a big difference between having a song that sounds similar to being generic. Okay, when you have, and there are a lot of bands that have followed this. They've taken the formula writing to an absolute extreme, and every song sounds the same. Okay, there's a big difference between that and coming up with systems that will follow certain aspects of a formula, okay? Or they'll follow the formula outright. But not every song sounds the same. Now, this particular song, Halls of Valhalla, let me put it to you this way. If you were to put this song in front of me, don't tell me the name of the band, don't tell me the name of the song, don't let me see the band, okay? Just play the song to a black screen. And ask me to name the band. One of the first 3 bands I would name would be Judas Priest. As a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. Judas Priest would probably be the first band I would name because it sounds like a Judas Priest song. It absolutely does. Especially when Rob's vocals kick in. I mean, his vocals are pretty recognizable. It's not a bad song in any stretch. I'm just saying it does follow certain aspects of a lot of other songs that Judas Priest have written. And as such, stylistically, it falls into the category of being a Judas Priest sounding song. But let's look at those characteristics, okay? So like the eighth note patterns, the syncopated rhythmic patterns happening within the guitars and the bass. Not so much the bass. Ian very much likes to stick to just staying on the quarter notes or just straight eighths, either one, but he doesn't move around notationally a whole lot. He pretty much sticks to root notes. And is there anything wrong with that? No, there's nothing wrong with that. The guy's made a living doing it. And a lot of people, and I agree, I think he's one of the most underrated bass players out there. I don't think he's given enough credit. He is the backbone of Judas Priest. In all honesty, he absolutely is. I could not imagine Judas Priest without Ian Hill. I can't. Some other bass player comes in and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to scratch my head and go, this guy better play exactly like Ian Hill or we're going to sound thin and we're going to sound hollow. It's probably not going to work. Which is funny. You could take drummers and switch them out. They've done that. You could take guitar players and switch them out. They've done that. You could take vocalists and switch them out. They've done that. They've never switched out their bassists though. So Ian's a mainstay. But as far as the guitar work, that in this case, 8th note pattern, I've heard them do 16th note patterns before, where they just absolutely lock in with each other and they line up. It's so tight. And then that's very much a calling card of Judas Priest's style. And it was no different here. I mean, you heard those 8th note patterns, not 16th, I know. But you heard the 8th note patterns. Richie kicked it off and then Glenn joined them. It was good to see Glenn on stage. It was great to see Glenn on stage. I know his contributions to Judas Priest are very limited now, due to his Parkinson's. But it's really, whenever we do see him on stage, it always, I don't know about you all, but when I see him on stage, it just gives me feel good vibes, man. It absolutely does. No disrespect to their other guitarists. I forgot who the other guitarist is that's normally on stage. Their actual second guitar. I know Rich is taking the lead. I forgot the other guitar player, but he wasn't there on stage though. Ian locking in with the drummer. I love that as always. Just rock solid foundation. They're one of the best in metal as far as bass and drummer combos, rhythm section combos. They're one of the best in metal. They absolutely are, and I will die on that hill. I absolutely will. And this was no different. They absolutely were locked in. Rob's vocals. Okay, let's talk about Rob's vocals on this. This is where I'm probably going to trigger some people. If I'm being honest, and you know me, I'm always going to be honest with you guys. If I'm being honest, guys, I've heard much better, much stronger, wider range, more power, vocal delivery than what we heard here. I know he's getting along in age. I get that, and that's the excuse most people use. He's been doing this for 40 years. He doesn't have it like he used to, but he still does it. listen, I absolutely agree with you. He does still do it. As a matter of fact, I got to see them perform live. Was it last year? I think it was. Yeah, it was last year. Judas Priest and Sabaton did a show together. And here's the thing. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna trigger more people here. When Mrs. Heretic and I went and saw them perform live, I was really impressed with Rob's vocal delivery. He was on point that night. He hit all the notes. All of the notes. There were a couple of notes, okay, maybe not all of them. There were a couple of notes where he had to make some substitutions for the sake of range. But even though he had to bring it down a fifth, he still delivered power, projection, holding that note steady. He still delivered on the expectation as far as power and projection and support go. Here, there were some times where he sounded kind of breathy. There were some times where it didn't sound as full and projected as I've heard from him before. There were some times where he sounded a little thin, and not because of range. He didn't go nearly as high as I've heard him go before, including the show that Mrs. Heretic and I went to. And he was getting up. He was getting way up there. This, he didn't get up there as much. Now, I don't know if the studio recording calls for him to get up higher, and maybe he was just having an off night. It's very possible. But looking at this song, even in the lower register, it's still, which is weird. I would expect the breathiness and the thinness to come from, getting up in register. But in this performance, looking back on the performance that Mrs. Heretic and I went to, there were some times in this song it was a little breathy, it was a little thin, a little weak, and not very typical of Rob Halford from what I've heard in the past. So it was not his best performance. Okay, let's be honest here. Okay, now can any performer ever be on point 100% of the time, 365? There are, but man, they dedicate their lives to keeping their voice and keeping their lungs and keeping their diaphragm all in check. So I don't know. I mean, and then there's sickness. I mean, maybe Rob just wasn't feeling it tonight. Maybe he was coming down with something. It's possible. Okay, I'm not looking for excuses. I'm evaluating what we heard and saw on its base value. There might be extenuating circumstances, but at the end of the day, the product is what I'm looking at and what I'm evaluating. All right. I have nothing against Rob Halford. Trust me. I mean, he is the metal god. I mean, he always will be the one and only. So I have a ton of respect for the man, but at the same time, I'm looking at this performance at face value and evaluating what it is for what it's worth. So let's see. The chordal progression, it's pretty simple. Okay, if we're being honest here, it's not a difficult chordal progression. Again, following the pentatonic very, very closely. Still sounded good. It was pleasing to the ear. I have no problem with it. Again, comes back to formulas. The song, if I'm being honest, not the strongest song I've heard from Judas Priest. I've heard much more impressively written songs, much more impressively executed songs than this song. Okay, I'm not saying it's a bad song. No, I never said that. I never made that exclamation, oh, this is a terrible song, or this is a bad song. No, I never said that. All I said was it is a little formulistic. It does follow a Judas Priest formula without question. But, I mean, it doesn't mean it's a bad song. Look how many other songs from Judas Priest have followed those formulas. So, and it had great success. So, no, I got no problem with the song whatsoever. I like the song. I think it sounds good. If I'm being honest, I would put the song at about 6.8, 6.9. I think the song on its own, I think the song is pretty good. All right. It's a very strong, pretty good. but I'm giving this a 7.2. How did that happen? Well, if you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you already know what I'm gonna say. So say it with me, kids.
Sing it out one time.
A live show can help your score or it can hurt your score. In this case, it did help. It didn't help as much as I wanted it to. I wish it could have helped more. I've seen other live shows from Judas Priest that, comparatively would have helped this a lot more, okay? But it still helped. It brought it out of the 6s up into the 7s. So let's go down to the checklist and you'll see what I'm talking about here. Stage presence, check. Yeah, they got great stage presence. They always have. They've always looked like performers. They've always acted like performers. And I've got no issue with their stage presence whatsoever. Stage energy, I'm gonna give it a check. Not the strongest check, but I will give it a check. Rob was moving around the stage quite a bit. Starting out, entering stage left, going to center, moving over to stage left again, getting blasted in the face with theater smoke. Then he made his way over to the right side of the stage, where he once again got blasted in the face with theater smoke. I guess he's a glutton for punishment, I guess. And then made his way back to center again. He was moving all over the stage. Faulkner was moving around a little bit too, but mostly forward and back. He wasn't really moving side to side a whole lot, but it's still moving in motion. It still is creating kinetic energy. So I'll take it. So stage energy gets a check. Stage interaction. Okay, I hate to say it, folks, but unfortunately that one gets a big fat goose egg. Zilch, zitch, nada. No stage interaction whatsoever, which is really funny for a number of reasons. Number one, Glenn was really close to Ian. I don't know why he didn't just go back with Ian and do the whole side to side swinging with the guitar neck. I like he used to do with KK. I don't know why they didn't do that. They were so close. Seriously, Glenn just had to take 3 steps backwards and he would have been right next to Ian. With as much that Rob was moving around from side to side, I was a little shocked not to see Rob go over and interact with Glenn. There were a number of times where where Rob's path intersected Richie's. So why didn't he go over and just interact with Richie? I don't understand. There was just no attempt, no effort made at all at stage interaction. So unfortunately, that one gets a big fat 0. So that is unfortunate. Now, the good news is the most important one, crowd interaction. I am going to give that a check. It looked like, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm misreading this. Maybe I'm putting too much stock in this. But it did look to me like when Rob would make gestures out to the crowd, he was doing it with intent, not just for dramatic effect, but it looked because he was looking down at the crowd. So it looked like he was motioning and, gesturing to the crowd. I will absolutely count that as crowd interaction. Now, the thing is, and the reason I'm bringing this up, and I'm putting a little bit of a question mark on it, Rob was looking down the entire time. I never saw him look up. He was constantly tilting his head down at least a 30-degree angle, sometimes more. Sometimes he was looking straight down at his feet. I don't know what's up with that. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe the lights are getting to him. I know they get to me. That's why there's shades on stage, because I have to, because if I don't, I could pass out. So maybe Rob has developed the same condition I have. Maybe just Rob just is getting just light sensitive and the lights just give him a migraine. There's ways around that. Put on shades. I've seen Rob wear shades on stage before. That's an easy solution. But this whole looking down at the stage thing, it's not a good look. As a lead vocalist, especially, you want to make a connection with the crowd as much as possible. And I'm sorry, but looking down at the stage is not really going to give you a whole lot of opportunity to create a connection with your crowd. You see what I'm doing right now? Looking down. I'm sure I've lost at least half of you by this point because I'm not making eye contact with you. You see what I'm talking about? When you look and you make eye contact with people, it creates that bridge. It crosses that gap and it establishes a connection with your audience. So I don't know why he's looking down. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I have no idea what the reason is. Maybe somebody in the fan base could clue me in. You know, is it a medical thing? Is it a stylistic thing? Is it a choice? I don't know. You know, fill me in here, guys. Let me know what's going on there. Where was I? Okay, showmanship. I've seen better, if I'm being honest. I am gonna give it a check, but I have seen much better showmanship from them. I know listen, I understand they're getting along in years. I absolutely get that, okay? I know they're not young spring chickens who can run around the stage like they used to, but at the same time, looking at the comparison at face value, it wasn't their best visual showmanship performance that I've ever seen from them. It was a little on the weaker side, but I am giving it the check. It is getting a check box, just not the strongest check I've ever given. Last thing, production. Oh yes, definite check. Between their light show, which was just exuberant. Now, listen. Here's the thing: they're playing at a festival. They're playing at Bach, but I'm sure they were probably the headliners on that stage, and the headliners will always get a little extra special treatment. They will always get their own light rig. If they want to bring their own light rig and use it, they will. And they'll leave it set up the entire day. No one else can use it. That's just for Judas Priest to use. That's just for the headliner to use. I'm sure that was their own light rig. It looked designed. It looked programmed. It looked big. The smoke. Now, the smoke was used. Oh, yeah, definitely. I really would like to have words with whoever had the audacity to design the smoke machine position the way that they did. Let's put the smoke machines left and right at the front of the stage, and let's put them and set them up right at about hip level to the performers, and then let's angle it up so that if people get next to it, or get near it, they're going to get blasted in the face with theater smoke. I would love to know who designed that. And I would love to find out where they live, because I'm going to pay them a visit and I'm going to kick their butts. What in the world are you thinking? For those of you who are watching, who have ever been on stage performing live, who know what I'm talking about, when I say there is just nothing better feeling in this world than getting blasted in the face with theater smoke and sucking that stuff into your lungs, boy, down your throat, leaving that nice dry tickle. Oh, isn't that great? Yeah, that's wonderful. For those of you who have been on stage and have had to deal with this, you know who you are and you know what I'm talking about. You can relate. That is just a magnificent feeling, isn't it? And Rob did it now. Poor Rob had to deal with it not once, but twice. Who in the world did that? If you really want that kind of theater smoke projection, there's a couple of suggestions. Number one, position them higher. Put them at head level, angled up, so it blasts the smoke over the performers' heads, not right into their faces. Or, number two, don't position them right next to the eagle blocks. Move them back a little bit, so that way when the smoke does come out, it goes behind them. That's another great idea. There's a lot of different ways that this could have been fixed, but whoever thought of putting the theater smoke projectors out there in the position they were at the height they were at the angle they were at, they did that on purpose. They absolutely did that on purpose. Why? I don't know. I cannot imagine that Rob Halford put in his rider. Let's make sure that we put the theater smoke projectors right at my waist level and angle them up at about a 45 to 50 degree angle so that it blasts me right in the side of the head, because I want to suck that stuff down. I cannot imagine for 1 second Rob Halford said that. So I don't know whose fault that was, but that whoever it was, they need to be fired or at least beaten, one of the two, because that was just terrible. But at least it was there. You know, the theater smoke was definitely there. That and the lighting combined, yeah, that's definitely production. So yeah, production does get the check. So taking all the live aspects into account here that they did do, this is how we came up from, like I said, about 6.8. Actually, yeah, 6.8 sounds about right for the song. Up to a 7.2. So it went up 0.4. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it got us out of the 6s and up into the 7s. So yeah, 7.2. I feel good with that score, and that's where we're going to stay. So let's wrap everything up here in a nice shiny bow, shall we? We have a 7.2, which is a really good skill rating, 4 to 5 stars, and a B as in boy, B letter grade. Take your pick, I don't care, whichever one of those floats your boat. Final word, final score, I have spoken. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show. Hope I was able to entertain you. If I was able to put a smile on your face and brighten your day, I did my job, and I'm so glad I could do it. If you guys feel like joining the fan base, go ahead and click on that button down there. If you guys want to like the video, go ahead and like the video. If you guys want to ring the bell, go ahead and ring the bell. It honestly doesn't make any difference at all to me, but if you guys feel like doing these things, well then by all means, feel free to do so. Well, that's going to do it for tonight, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, this is David Heretic signing off, reminding you to stay fabulous and support each other. Later. Peace.